What's up, you lovely people? Welcome to the channel. This is a request. Many of you actually suggested that I check out Lucio Corsi, Volevo, essere, duro. I wanted to be tough, a tough boy, right? And I think was part of Sanremo or a European song festival. So anyway, before we go, also I want to check some of my covers. I did this yesterday, or some of my originals. I would really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. So anyway, let's go back to Lucio Corsi and check his song.
Matematica 3.
Oh,
Un po' bassino, eh?
right.
Vabbè, migliorerai. Italiano 4.
I remember this actor, but
Geografia 3?
Sì, ma io in geografia...
Ma io che? Ma geografia 3? Ma è bassissimo, Carletto! Dai, geografia 3. Speriamo il comportamento, vediamo un po'. Comportamento 4. No, comportamento 4. No, mi dispiace, no. Alzati in piedi.
Oh
A
wow.
letto senza cena. Fila.
So the father is very unhappy because the trimester at school is not going well with the test.
Mangia.
So he's below average on almost everything, also in behavior. So very posh family, little bit stereotypical upper class Italians. If you understand, you understand.
Volevo essere un duro
This reminds me of
che non
a
gli importa del futuro.
Tenacious
Un
D.
lobo, un lottatore di sumo, uno spaccino in fuga da un cane lupo. Alla stazione di volo, una gallina dalle uova d'oro.
E non ho letto religione.
He's very upset.
Non ho il coraggio.
He wants to check
Non
religion.
sono nessuno, non sono nato con la faccia da duro. Ho anche paura del buio, se faccio a botte le prendo. Così mi truccano gli occhi di nero, ma non ho mai perso tempo. È lui che mi ha lasciato indietro.
Build up.
Vivere la vita è un gioco da ragazzi, me lo diceva mamma ed io cadevo giù dagli alberi. Quanto è duro il mondo.
Okay, I have to say, first of all, like, I love that there is a grandizer here on the side and a grandizer there. It's in Italian, it's called Mazinga Z, which were the anime we grew up with, my generation, the X generation, from the 70s, early 80s. We watched this stuff. They were, in Italy, we watched a ton of Japanese anime at the time. All those mecha robots, Mazinga Z, Super Mazinga, Jig Robot, Goldrake, Uforobo, and all of that. Actually, I think Uforobo was called Grandizer. Now I forgot because they have similar name. Anyway, I like the reference, so I wonder how old is Lucio Corsi. And, just a little bit of context. Upper class family, a little bit conservative, posh. Kid is not turning out to be like the father and the mother were envisioning. It's withdrawing in his room. At least he had a room. Me and my sibling, and sometimes in some period of our life, we shared one room with 4 of us. And honestly, this resonates with me in 2 ways, right? And if you give me like a minute, I explain a little bit the backdrop of Southern Italian culture a little bit. So I grew up in a working class family. Nothing was ever missing, but obviously, if you know, you just go, month by month, so to speak. So, and I grew up in a very touristic area, and city tourists, people living in Naples from the upper class in the summer will come to the coast. Will come where we lived for the summer holidays. They will rent homes for literally 3 months. Those were the 80s and the 90s. A lot of those kids, they were posh, right? They were posh, and it was sometimes we made also fun of those that look like this kid here that wants to be grunge, wants to be like rock and roll, but comes from an affluent family. Like we call them figatielli in a way. Because they could afford also the flannel shirt, the Dr. Martin. They could afford to look like that period of whatever, And some other were just straight out posh, just into Italian pop culture or more like, dance music and that type of stuff. So we looked like rock and roll. We loved the rock and roll and metal. We were like outsider already in our own village, in our own city. And so we end up also making friends with some of those, richer kids coming from this type of background. And even though some of them were figatielli, others weren't. And we made nice friendship and shared, a common thing. Even though our families were a little bit different, but we shared a common denominator of rock and the desire for, not fitting in, right? Because that's who we were. So in that way, this song resonates already with me, and I like it.
Volevo essere duro, che non gli importa del futuro, no. Un robot, medaglia d'oro di sputo, lo scippatore che t'aspetta nel buio, il re di Porta Portese, la gazza ladra che ti ruba la fede.
Pronto, padre Mario? Sono l'architetto, Gualtiero. Senta, abbiamo un problema, nostro figlio.
Carletto?
Sì, Carletto, non esce più di camera. Non
He's calling the priest. What are they gonna do? Like an exercise or something?
Grazie tanto.
Oh, well, that was funny.
Padre Mario.
Buonasera.
Oh! It's funny because he reminds me also, okay, the song itself, there's a little bit of Beatles in there. It's much more pop. There's just a little hint of glam rock also in the look, right? But it also reminds me not only rock and roll, glam rock of the 80s, also a little bit before. I have to think of David Bowie. I have to think of maybe even, I want to say like Blue Oyster Cult or... all those bands that they were painting the face. Even Bob Dylan in the 70s, when he was doing the Rolling Thunder tour, he would paint his face white, if you remember that. And funny enough, Bob Dylan actually was copying, he was inspired by something Italian for his Rolling Thunder tour, which was La Commedia dell'arte. So that was really, it's a funny, like when I see these, like, it seems like, a nice circle, going back to it. And also reminds me a little bit of this band that came out, a little bit in a sense a parody band that came out in the early 2000s from the UK called The Darkness. Actually, this guy looks like a little bit the lead singer of The Darkness. Nice, let's go. A little bit of guitar. Let's go.
Cintura bianca di judo, invece che una stella, uno starnuto. I girasoli con gli occhiali mi hanno detto stai attento alla luce e che le lune senza buche sono fregature. Perché in fondo è inutile fuggire dalle tue paure. La vita è un gioco da ragazzi.
She went to pick up like Snow White. Oh yes, let's Disney is gonna save the day here. I mean, I'm really enjoying this. It shouldn't be taken too seriously. It's taking fun. It's making fun a lot of stereotypes. The architect father and being conservative and so on and so forth. Honestly, I would say like I've been atheist for most of my life, and then later in life, now in my 40s, I started to reapproach spirituality again, and even Christianity again, at least at the source of what the message is. And I have to say, at the end of the day, what matters the most is not so much indoctrination to others, but trying to keep an open mind, trying to be open to the possibility and the mystery of the universe. And most importantly, I suppose, if you're a parent, to, you know, not project, which is very common. You just project on this new soul, and just be able instead directing their energy where they can prosper and flourish the most, right? Where they can really become the best of who they are. And that's why, in a way, it's a funny song, but has also this very deep, meaningful side that really hits me, honestly, because it feels that many of us went through that, you know? Obviously, our parents meant well, but I remember so many of, you know, in a different way, but so many of these vibes of what I went through myself, you know, in growing up and trying to assert yourself, trying to go in the direction that you wanted to go. I started painting only in my early 20s because nobody believed in me. And you know, even though I was an artist, I always felt I was an artist. None of my family really believed in me, and I slowly had to carve my way, and I'm still carving my way, you know, into that reality every single day. So I can totally get this, man. I like it.
Però non sono nessuno, non sono altro che luce, non sono altro che luce.
Nice song, man. I really enjoyed it. It's a simple song, but
Dorme.
Carletto.
Missione compiuta. E sono 500.000 lire.
Ma guarda,
wow.
io veramente
Oh,
volentieri.
he wants like $250, 250 euros
Tranquillo.
for the exercise.
Lasciamolo dormire.
So it was sort of placed in the 90s. I'm sure those are Italian actors. I remember them. I remember them young. Yes. Let's go, man. Rock and roll. And Back to the Future. Oh, man. Oh, Pieraccioni, yes. Ceccherini. I remember both of them, these people. So, yeah. It also shows you in Italy how, like, you know, showing those type of stereotypes in 2025, right? It shows you how probably slow that kind of rock reality grew up in the collective consciousness, even though there's been a ton of, you know, fan of Beatles and Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin and all of that, but very commonly, you know, Italy, it's pop culture, canzone d'amore, love song, crooners, you know, that type of stuff. So it's kind of interesting to see Lucio, you know, with the painted faces like that. You know, this type of stuff was happening in the 70s in the UK, but now this type of things are also having a revival, right? Because it's passed so many years that there is, rightly so, like a desire to re-explore those beautiful things, you know, grunge, glam rock, which I'm a total, you know, 10 out of 10, honestly. I'm totally for it. Let's go.